probably the approach where SaaS companies use content just for SEO, that's going to change. There's going to be content that's not just optimized for SEO, but is also optimized for shareability, for example. Content that is more exciting, content that is more interesting to the reader, content that stands out from other SaaS companies.
Before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Ahrefs. Ahrefs provides you with an all-in-one SEO toolset that does everything from rank tracking to backlink analysis, keyword research, and technical audits. The best part, you can now use Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free to identify and prioritize optimization opportunities for your website, see all the keywords that your web pages are ranking for, take a close look at the websites that link back to and refer you in their content, and analyze other websites to find out what drives their rankings. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT and sign up for free. And now, back to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SaaS SEO Show. I'm your host, George Hasiotis, and today I'm very happy and excited to be joined by someone I'm connected with for quite a while, Jitesh Patil, who is a professional with a background in programming and marketing. Jitesh has experience in building automation software, billing software, and an auction platform for India's biggest art house. He received the Samsung Absolute Award for his contribution to the development and marketing of an app for the Note platform. Jitesh also had 7 years of experience running a successful WordPress agency and relaunched cyberchimps.com. He currently works as an SEO and content specialist at Toggl, using key skills to optimize website traffic and enhance the company's online presence. We are going to talk about many interesting things today. Jitesh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, George. Happy to be here.
So as we do with like every guest, pretty much every guest here at the SaaS SEO, so we start with a basic question, which is, we are interested to learn a few things, even though I shared quite a few things about your background and your story so far. We would like to hear from you. What were the main, let's say, points in your journey, and what has led you to where you are today and the things that you do today?
Yeah, so the Samsung Absolute Challenge you talked about in my introduction, that was where I got introduced to marketing. So Samsung India, they were launching their Galaxy Note phones here in India, and they invited developers to make applications for the Galaxy Note phone. The competition was not just to make applications, but also to get the maximum downloads for those applications. Now, I knew how to make an application, but I didn't have any idea about how to get people to download those applications. There were a couple of challenges. One, the phones were just getting launched in India, so there were not a lot of Indian users. Whoever were using Galaxy Note phones, they were mostly outside India. I scoured a few forums, and most of the people who were using Samsung Galaxy Note phones at that time were in the Southeast Asian countries, Korea, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore. So that's how I got introduced to marketing. I started posting. I made an app to sketch over an image. So you could use the Galaxy Note phone's pen to sketch over an image and actually make a really nice sketch. And then I started posting about the app, posting about some of the pictures that I had sketched on the forums, and things worked out. and my app was downloaded quite a lot of times, and that's how I got introduced to internet marketing.
Okay, that's a great story. So it wasn't just the fact that you developed it, but also the fact that you had many downloads. Like this led to the award, right?
Exactly. Yeah. that was the competition.
Okay, that's very interesting and not something I hear every day. And so would you say that this was like a turning point? This is like the beginning of your kind of marketing journey?
Yes, I would definitely say that. That's how I really got into internet marketing. That's when I realized that you could sell stuff by talking to people online, basically.
Back then it was forums, right?
It was forums, yeah. That's the most that's where I found a lot of Samsung Galaxy Note users. So
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, you could say that today's forums are communities on Slack, I don't know, or Discord. I don't know about Facebook groups. Some of them may be active still, but I would like, if I have to, if I had to kind of think about forums in 2023, I would think of something like Slack communities, Discord, and things like that. I don't know about you.
no, so forums were like proper bulletin boards at that time. So they had those funky looking backgrounds, black color, and you had either Comic Sans or Wordana as the font. And yeah,
That's
those
also
were fun times.
true. That's also true. Yeah, that's also
Yeah.
true. That's another characteristic.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story very short. Today you are working at Toggl, which is
Mhm.
I will let let people know what Toggl is. I guess most of us know Toggl. I am a user, and I guess many people who listen to this episode are users. But for people who have never heard of Toggl before, could you please share a couple of things about Toggl and your role there?
Mhm. Yeah. So Toggl basically is a set of three products. There's Toggl Track, which is our most popular time tracking software, and that's the one how people associate Toggl with the time tracking software. Other than that, we have two smaller products. There's Toggl Plan, which is a project planning slash resource planning tool. And then there's Toggl Hire, which is used for recruitment, basically screening, conducting tests online, shortlisting candidates, and basically making sure your hiring pipeline keeps working. I started my journey in Toggl with Toggl Plan, but since more than a year now, I've been a part of the One Toggl marketing team, uh, where I work with a bunch of talented marketers and do SEO and content for Toggl Plan and Toggl Track both.
What I like about Toggl's products is that they are very clean. Like the UI is very clean and beautiful. Like you want to use the product if you know what I mean. And what I also like on the kind of marketing side is how the product is presented. The website, the colors, pretty much everything. So I think that you know you have done a great job when it comes to design, and I think that this is a point where we often neglect, let's say. But I find many of my decisions to be driven partially or like fully by how beautiful this product or this like service or whatever this website is. I don't know about you, but I it happens to me very often.
Yes, it makes a lot of difference. It sort of builds a connection. Uh, unless you're solving like a bleeding neck problem, you need a good website.
Yeah, that's a good point. Of course, that's one thing. I would like to ask you, how difficult is it to coordinate SEO process for a company with three different products? Because Toggl has three different products: Toggl Track, Toggl Plan, Toggl Hire. How difficult is it to coordinate SEO process for such a company?
Mhm. Yeah, so a little bit of background. Previously, all three companies were different entities. They existed on their own domains. So in 2020, everything got under the toggle.com domain. So that was the first challenge. making sure that all the content from all three products got on the same domain, including the blog. We still have three separate sub websites for Track, Plan, and Hire, but our blog is common. All three products share the same blog. With Hire, the content is pretty much unique, as you can imagine. But with Plan and Track, there's a lot of overlap between the content. Time tracking and project planning are sort of two different ends of a project's life cycle. So where project planning is more forward-looking, time tracking looks backwards and ensures that your project stays on track, basically. So there's a lot of overlap between Plan. There was a lot of overlap between Plan and Track's content. That was the second challenge, making sure that there was not a lot of duplicate content on the blog. And then while I was working independently with Toggl Plan, there was a coordination challenge where making sure that the content calendars didn't overlap. We were not creating the same content, duplicating the efforts as well as duplicating the content. At the same time, there's also a challenge of creating product-led content where you have an opportunity to refer other products. Let's say, for example, I'm creating a blog post for Toggl Plan, and I have an opportunity to either refer Toggl Hire or Toggl Track, coordinating with their content team or their product managers and making sure that I have the assets to include that product or that feature in my blog post. So that's the third challenge. But overall, since I have now become part of the One Toggl team, it's fairly easy. We just need to coordinate with the Hire team most of the times for high-level stuff. Like if we are making changes to the blogs, for example, design, or we are changing the menu, or we are changing the global CTAs, those are the only places where we need to coordinate with Toggl Hire. Otherwise, now it's fairly smooth.
I think there are many great lessons there for companies that are multi-product, let's say, because I can understand the challenges of having three different websites and having to the ultimate goal being to move everything under one umbrella, let's say one website. And it's funny because just before this call, I had a call with a prospect, and they were describing a similar situation. Like, we have all these different things, and we want to have everything under one umbrella, right? So I think that this is a struggle that quite a few companies have, and it's nice that you kind of outlined how you managed to do that. Now, I would like to ask you something, which is kind of a follow-up regarding what we just discussed and covered. You're in a very competitive field, right? Each of these categories by its own they are very competitive. How do you kind of differentiate, and how do you manage to stay to be unique in terms of SEO, given the fact that you compete with some major players out there in each of the categories that you compete against?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges, particularly in the project management space, is that a lot of tools out there now try to do everything. Right? They have all the features. They try to become all-in-one platforms for project management, basically end-to-end project management. There are also tools that offer you more flexible solutions. For example, you have Notion. You have tools like Notion, which allow you to create your own sort of data structures within the app and build your own workflows. Where Toggl has always differentiated itself is on the simplicity of things. We don't want you to spend 2 months just trying to understand how to use the software. we don't want you to spend like 15-20 days for an employee to get onboarded to start using. We don't want to give you 10 different options to do the same thing. And then everybody does it their own way, and it becomes a chaos. Uh, we want to make things as visual as possible. We don't want you to have like most of the tools like try to do complicated stuff, but we try to keep it simple. And we are for people who have been using Excel, but now they have just outgrown spreadsheets and now they want something better, but they still want to have that simplicity of using Excel. Let's put it that way.
I understand. And I think this goes back to what I was saying earlier about like how beautiful the product is and how easy it is for anyone to, there's no learning curve. I mean, especially for Toggl Track, like you can just like sign up, start using it straight away. You don't have to like to know the tool or anything like that. And I like that. And I get your point. I mean, I guess we are in an era in a time where, especially in project management, as you mentioned, there are some companies that don't like take this direction, but there are several companies that they try to be this all-in-one, let's say, tool, right? And in several cases this complicates things. So it's, you know, while for something like Toggl, it makes things easier, and I guess that this makes your job easier to communicate, let's say, and to translate that into strategy, right? Now, speaking of strategy, I would like to know how you approach content strategy for SEO, and how do you decide what goes in the blog, in what frequency, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So right now it's two of us, me and Sean Collins, who work on the SEO and content for Toggl Track and Toggl Plan both. The frequency of publishing content really is on the bandwidth that both of us have. Occasionally, we work with freelancers. We also work with agencies like yours. We will soon be starting a project with you, and that's where our content efforts get augmented. But on an average, like we try to publish at least 2 blog posts every week, or either publish new ones or update existing ones. That's our cadence, sort of. And about the strategy, so most of our, like 90% of our focus is on product-led content. Me and Sean both are huge fans of Hrefs, and yeah, we use their business potential score to rank keyword ideas. Recently, we've also started working prioritizing content ideas based on topic clusters instead of creating like blog posts on random topics. We try to focus on one topic cluster and create content for that topic cluster in a pod, and then we move on to the next one. So that's
interesting. Speaking of prioritization, I know the system that Ahrefs use, and obviously Ahrefs, you know, we are connected with them, and they are also the sponsors of this podcast. We've taken this prioritization concept a step further, and what we do is actually something that we've also shared in the past. Is we like the basic assumption was, okay, like there are these metrics like, you know, keyword difficulty, search volume, and so on. But we all know that these metrics are not perfect, right? In like at best, they are averages, or, you know, they are developed and calculated in a proprietary way, and so on and so forth. Why don't we take them into account along with some other metrics that we have developed internally, assign them a certain weight though, because, you know, search volume can't be the sole determinant of our decisions, right? And so this is how we score opportunities nowadays. We take into account several metrics for each keyword, and we come up with, you know, what we call the opportunity score, and then we make decisions based on that. But I agree with you, there has to be a way to prioritize things, right? But back to my original question, how do you split, you know, across the three products and say that, you know what, we need to work more on like project management related content, or time tracking, you know, related content, and so on?
So it's mostly based on the content gaps that we identify. Uh, if we find that we are missing critical pieces of a topic cluster, uh, that's one way we prioritize things, or decide what content to create. The second is when a new feature gets launched and it addresses a new use case, for example, or it makes an existing use case better, makes it better to use or solve using one of the Toggl products. That's the second case where we decide to create content. And then the third one, which is a regular feature on our blogs, is product updates. So that's the third kind of content that we create. So yeah, so mainly it's based on content gaps or new features that get launched.
Can I ask you something based on something you mentioned earlier? How, like, is there a structured way or process behind identifying opportunities for a content update, like, you know, content monitoring or regular content audits, like once per quarter or anything like that? And we spot these opportunities and we kind of add them in the calendar.
Yeah, so yeah, I missed actually a challenge that we faced when we integrated all three products. All three products had their own content, and so much content got together at the same time on the blog. One of the big challenges we were facing at that time was how to audit all this content, and how to ensure that whatever content we already have is basically working the way we want it to. So that was another big challenge that we had. But yeah, but what we do now is once a quarter we review our top pages. We find that a lot of conversions happen from bottom of the funnel blog posts mostly, which are like competitor alternatives, best XX software kind of posts, and then you have comparisons. So those are what drive a lot of conversions from our blog. So once a quarter we review them for updates. Those are the ones that need to get frequently reviewed, primarily because a lot of new features keep coming out with all the tools that we've included. And then we also have a way to identify content gaps every quarter. We basically have a spreadsheet where we gather a bunch of keywords, and then we prioritize them based on, like I said, the business potential and the value that it brings to our readers.
Can I ask you something? Just came up as you were giving the answer. We had a guest who also happens to be a friend of mine, John Wiesel from DataPad, and they are a dashboarding software. And one interesting thing that he shared with me, you know, while we were doing the recording for you know, his episode, was the fact that one of the like best performing pieces, also in terms of like conversions, right, was a piece that kind of presented an alternative to dashboarding on Google, using Google Sheets, something like that. And I wanted to ask you if, you know, you had a similar experience, especially on the project management side, because I guess that sometimes we have some notions that, you know what, project management, okay, our competitors for this, you know, specific job to be done are X, Y, and Z. while people may in fact use something else that you may have completely missed, right? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I think like one of the most common things that I have missed previously, as well as a lot of people miss, is that most of the SaaS is just just a better version of Excel, if you think about it, right? So Excel is the biggest competitor of most of the SaaS products. That's one thing that's easy to miss. Uh, we have, for example, blog posts about Excel for project management, where we show people how to use Excel to manage their projects, and then we highlight the pros and cons of using Excel for different set of workflows within your project management process. People could use whiteboards, for example. People could use calendars, particularly for resource planning, resource allocation, managing their time off. People could use calendars for that. People could use like different tools. Like for example, there are a lot of HR tools for managing time off or basically planning vacations. So yeah, there's not like one tool. You have to basically identify all the use cases that your product solves. Within project management, there are so many use cases, right? From creating a proposal to basically reporting, sending reports to the customers. There's a ton of steps in between, and different products can solve different steps in a way that makes sense to someone. Identifying those use cases, prioritizing them based on your product's capabilities, and then deciding what content to create. I guess it's that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's also nice to hear this answer from you, because we try to like point towards this direction with like many of our clients, that in some cases you may think that you know who your competitors are, but people may, tell you something, a completely different story, right? But unless you go to your customers and ask, you will never know, right? So this is also why it's important to conduct customer interviews, run customer surveys, and be as close to your customers as possible in general, right? Now, I would like to shift gears a bit and discuss kind of all these changes that happen right now. And I guess my question is, how do you navigate all these changes regarding search with EEAT and the rise of generative content? And how do you ensure that you stay on the safe side of things and keep creating content that search engines and people will reward?
Yeah. So, like I would say, about a year ago, there wasn't a lot of focus on getting the expertise and experience aspect into the blog post. It was mostly about making sure that your blog post was optimized for whatever keyword you're targeting, making sure that all the content that comprehensively covers a specific topic was there. That's all we used to do. But now we have started focusing on building relationships with experts, people. So Toggl works best for agencies, digital agencies. So we are working with influencers who are in that space, who help agencies basically grow. We had a couple of live sessions recently on LinkedIn where we interviewed experts from who help agencies grow, basically who help agencies become more profitable. Uh, that's a nice fit basically for time tracking, for example. It's also a nice fit considering the situation that we are right now. A lot of there's a lot of sort of downturn in economies in a lot of countries, and of course spends are getting lower. People are looking for more value for whatever they are spending. So it makes sense for agencies to basically become profitable or make sure that whatever they are, whatever effort they are expending in getting the projects done is like goes in the right direction. If that's not happening, obviously profits are going to suffer, and eventually, like one of our customers said, uh, we'll just die if we are not profitable. Like, unlike SaaS startups, agencies rarely get funded. Most of them are bootstrapped. So it makes sense for us to focus on that aspect of agencies, making sure that we help them stay profitable. We show them ways to become profitable, and that's where we have started this interaction with different influencers, including agencies, including consultants who help agencies grow. And we've had a couple of them. We're planning to do one every month, and we get a lot of like inputs from their talks, and now those sort of become a part of our blog posts. One of the recent examples, for example, I recently wrote an article about resource utilization, and then from the interview with the influencer, we sort of had the benchmarks ready about what sort of utilizations agencies should look at when working on a client project. What sort of utilization gets them profitable? So yeah, so that aspect is now also part of our blog post.
That's a very good point, and many interesting learnings here. How about generative content and generative AI in general? What are your thoughts?
So right now, uh, I don't think we are at a stage where we can fully rely on generated content. Uh, the content that we have, and probably will never be, because whatever content we get generated is based on the bias that is fed to the AI engine. That's my number one concern. So, for example, if someone loves Excel and they feed that to the AI engine, the AI engine is not going to tell you that some other tool is better than Excel. It's as simple as that. So that's my number one concern. Number two is it's it's really hard to come up with uh, like you're going to get the same kind of content from the AI engine after a while. If like thousands of people start generating blog posts from the generators, I'm sure they are going to be more or less similar. We've already seen that with tools like, for example, Surfer SEO or other tools on the market. Like, for example, Phrase, they give you the score once you start including those keywords or those sections in the outline, and then you start seeing same kind of blog posts everywhere. So as of now, I don't think AI is at a level where it can give you a full blog post, but I definitely think it helps you uh, make your language read better. That's one of the best use cases that I have found. It helps you overcome your creative blocks. For example, you want to generate 10 different titles for a blog post. That's one of the best use cases that I have personally used. And then sometimes it's a struggle to come up with a good meta description. So that's another place where AI is really useful. But other than that, I think it's still a long way from creating good content. Of course, you can create run-of-the-mill content from it and publish it on your blog post. But yeah, but I don't think it's like 100% there.
I agree with you. We did a webinar with Bernard Huang from ClearScope, and he shared some very interesting insights on the future of, content for a search audience and how we can, integrate things like expertise, demonstrate expertise, and so on and so forth. And I think that, this is not one of the things that AI can do, right? And actually, we are going to publish a piece of content on our blog about that there are different types of knowledge, and like AI can kind of grasp 2 out of the 3, but the third one, which is, I think the third one is gnosis, which comes from, the Greek word gnosis. Gnosis is not something that AI can get, because it's based on experience, something that I've experienced myself. And also, to your point about cookie cutter content, or copycat content, as people call it, like this was already a problem, and we see that with AI, it can only get worse, right? So I don't know who is going to benefit from that. I guess no one, right? Except for companies or SaaS companies that are like offering generative content, right? And I think that there are some use cases. We've presented some of these use cases in our webinar with Superpath, but as a content marketing agency, our stance is very like straightforward. We, of course, monitor the changes, and we want like technology advancements, and we are excited about all these new things. But at the same time, I think that when it comes to creating content for our clients, we simply don't use it, and we will not use it, right? Because we want to really demonstrate that like expertise and knowledge, and which is not easy, of course, but yeah. Now, one question I have for you is regarding Toggl and the fact that you rank for several keywords with commercial intent, for example, time tracker software, through your homepage. And my question is, with such a strong domain and like such a strong brand in general, how do you balance creating new like use case pages to target specific use cases of the product, as opposed to specific keywords, I mean, as opposed to trying to rank through the homepage? Because I assume that at this point it would be easy for Toggl, with your brand and like overall website authority, just add a word in the homepage and maybe get visibility for this keyword, right? So I would like to know how you balance that and how you make decisions regarding that.
I think one of the like key things that I look at is, what is the user looking for? Like, are they looking for example, let's say they are looking for resource planning. They are looking for a resource planning solution, or they are looking to ensure that they are allocating their team members in a way that they are neither overworked or underworked. Basically, let's say that's the use case. There's no way I can send them to the Toggl homepage for that. I need a separate use case for that. Regarding Toggl.com, the specific URL ranking for time tracking software, it's also because Toggl.com previously was home of Toggl Track, which is our time tracking software. So historically, it has always been the time tracking thing. But when it comes to specific use cases, like I said, the focus is on what is it that the user wants. If the user wants a specific use case solved, send him to that specific landing page or blog post, rather than sending them to the home page.
That makes sense. And yeah, that makes sense now that you explained that, it used to be the home of Toggl Track as a product. As we are ready to wrap things up, my second to last question would be, what do you think the future holds for, when it comes to content SEO for SaaS companies?
That's really interesting. So one of the things that I feel, especially with all of generative content coming along, is that the content and the SEO strategies and tactics that you choose will depend a lot on what stage your SaaS company is at. That's number one. Number two, I feel that probably the approach where SaaS companies use content just for SEO that's going to change. There's going to be content that's not just optimized for SEO, but is also optimized for shareability, for example. Content that is more exciting, content that is more interesting to the reader, content that stands out from other SaaS companies. So that's going to be the second change that I see that's going to happen, simply because there's going to be so much more content with generative AI. Because I'm sure companies that don't have enough budget, they are going to try these tools. Because now you can generate a blog post like probably $10-20 and publish it on the website. So that's the second change. The third change that I'm looking at is there'll be a lot of content updates and very few new blog posts getting published, at least with established companies. For SaaS companies, I don't see a way, unlike a blog or a magazine, you're not going to create an infinite number of blog posts. You're going to create a finite number of blog posts that addresses the challenges that your users face. The value of your content for SaaS companies basically is not just about grabbing eyeballs, but also making sure that they get you ROI for whatever efforts you're publishing, whatever efforts you're putting into publishing or updating that content. So those are the three things I think for SaaS companies, the future in SEO and content marketing. That's what it looks like to me.
That's great. And last question, Jitesh, where can people find out more about you and reach out if they'd like to?
I guess LinkedIn is the best place where you can find me. I look at it once a week, so you have to be a little bit patient if you reach out to me. But yeah, definitely LinkedIn is the best place to get in touch.
Thank you. We will drop it in the show notes. Jitesh, that was all very insightful. Thank you very much for letting us into your world and sharing your story and like how you do things at Toggl. Thank you very much, and I look forward to a follow-up discussion sometime in the near future.
Thank you, George. It was so much fun chatting with you. Thank you.
Before you go, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Ahrefs. Ahrefs provides you with an all-in-one SEO toolset that does everything from rank tracking to backlink analysis, keyword research, and technical audits. The best part, you can now use Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free to identify and prioritize optimization opportunities for your website, see all the keywords that your web pages are ranking for, take a close look at the websites that link back to and refer you in their content, and analyze other websites to find out what drives their rankings. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT and sign up for free.